To discuss Australia's deal with Malaysia, I was joined a short time ago from Canberra by the Immigration Minister Chris Bowen. Minister, thanks for talking to Lateline.
Pleasure.
This is an in-principle agreement. Is it a done deal?
Well, certainly the Prime Minister of Malaysia has committed to enter into this agreement, yes. Of course, there are details that are still being worked through. This has been negotiated with Malaysia over a period of 6 months. I first raised this with my ministerial colleague in Malaysia, Minister Hishamuddin, last December, and we've been working on it since then.
Any sticking points that you can see?
Oh, look, there's always implementation details and things to be worked through in what is a complex area in terms of transfers between one nation and another. But it's a commitment to enter into an agreement, and certainly the degree of good faith and cooperation between Australia and Malaysia in these discussions has been first class. Malaysia is a key partner of Australia in dealing with people smuggling issues. We deal with a lot of things together, and this takes that relationship to the next step.
At a cost of $292 million, Australia is, quote, fully funding the arrangement. Why is Australia paying for both ends of this deal if it's mutually beneficial?
Well, because this is Malaysia assisting Australia to break the business model of the people smugglers. We can now very clearly send the message to people: don't bother getting on a boat to come to Australia, don't risk your life, don't pay the money because you'll be returned to Malaysia, which is the first entry point into Asia for most asylum seekers that come to Australia. So Malaysia is assisting in that. Also, it's appropriate that Malaysia, who has 92,000 registered refugees and asylum seekers in its country, that we assist them in that with a greater degree of burden sharing across the region, and that Australia can play a greater role. So this is a win for Malaysia. It's also a win for Australia. It's a loss for the people smugglers.
So of the 76 million of the 292 million that's been identified as operational cost, is that 76 million going to Malaysia?
Well, that's the entire operational cost. That's the cost of transfers, it's the cost of moving people to Malaysia, it's the cost of introducing them to the Malaysian system. We've said very clearly Australia is funding this agreement. Malaysia is a country which deals with many challenges, 92,000 asylum seekers and refugees on their books, probably more than that. They're the ones that are registered. And it's appropriate that Australia funds this agreement because it is a fundamental blow to the business model of the people smugglers. That means that people smugglers can no longer sell the guaranteed product of being processed and resettled in Australia. The relationship between Australia and Malaysia is a good one in this regard, and it's appropriate that we fund the arrangement.
So what will the money be used for? For processing costs? Will we be actively supporting these 800 asylum seekers we're sending to Malaysia?
Oh, well, look, the IOM and the UNHCR will be in the process of managing these people through. The total operational costs are the total operational cost, the cost that you identified. That's the cost of the transfer, it's the cost of the processing in Malaysia. The people in Malaysia don't have access to welfare or that level of support, so there are very minimal costs there. But this is
Will we be providing that support?
We'll be funding the arrangement. We'll be funding the process of IOM. We'll be funding the process of the UNHCR and the processing as part of the arrangement. But there's no ongoing support in terms of access to welfare under the Malaysian system. People who are transferred to Malaysia under this deal will get no preferential treatment, and that's an important part of the deal.
So how will they support themselves? As you say yourself, there's no right to work, there's no access to healthcare, there's no access to education.
Well, there's 92,000, I should say, asylum seekers in Malaysia. They support themselves through a variety of mechanisms. Of course, there's informal work that happens. Of course, there is, but there's
illegal
no formal work rights. There's no formal work rights, and that is what happens. Now, importantly, Ali, if you're concerned about the plight of asylum seekers in Malaysia, then people would welcome the fact that Australia is taking 4,000 more over the next 4 years. We are taking people who've been mandated as refugees, who've been waiting patiently in Malaysia for resettlement, people who are have fled difficult situations.